Welcome to WTF Wednesday, and today I am with my chief financing rock star, and we're going to talk about how business owners have been terrified since the EIDL money and what to do with it. We have heard countless stories of what does this mean with the EIDL compared to PPP. So please stay tuned, and we're going to get back to you and answer a bunch of questions about the EIDL loan and how your business can invest using that money.
It's Wednesday, WTF Wednesday. That's not to say there were not glitches, and there are still glitches happening.
Welcome to WTF Wednesday, where every week we talk about stupid that we've encountered that you should try to avoid. Trevor, we're back. There's some feedback. I don't know if you're not wearing your, what's happening?
I neglected to bring it in with me today.
You're kidding.
I left my homework at home on the piano. Sorry.
Oh my gosh, it sounds terrible. This is our first time going live on LinkedIn too. We have more people who signed on than ever before, and you forgot your earplugs.
WTF.
That's.
I will tell you, the volume on my laptop is ridiculously low, so I'm not really clear why you're hearing feedback. I'm getting no feedback.
You're getting no feedback. Hey, Tim Sohn, shouting out to WTF.
Why don't you turn down the volume in your headset a little bit? That'll probably help you with that.
Yeah, I guess
Today seems to be a kind of a day for technical glitches. I was trying to do a Skype call this morning with our friend Jen Flowers, and that didn't work. And then we tried Zoom, and then I couldn't get my camera to work because apparently Skype still owned the camera.
Well, it's raining here in the Northeast. And hey, Marvin Vasquez, how are you, sir? Yeah, so it's raining up here in the Northeast. We've had some weird weather. Okay, good. Tim says we sound fine. All right, good, because this is our first time live on LinkedIn, and Tim knows the trials and tribulations of getting LinkedIn live and how I have been moaning and groaning, and they finally approved my application. So I'm very excited about that. But
BTW.
WTF.
When Linda got the email that LinkedIn had approved, I was crashed out on the couch at home at the time, enjoying Thomas Harris's Red Dragon novel, which is the precursor to Silence of the Lambs, enjoying my kind of gothic murder horror type of story, relaxing on a nice afternoon, when this
yelping
scream erupts from the other part of the house. I thought that part of the ceiling had collapsed on her head.
No, okay. So listen, let's get into it because we have a lot to cover today, and I've got to get to Tim and Jim's show because they have an expert on YouTube, and that's immediately following our show. So technically what's going on and what we wanted to talk about today is the EIDL loan and how businesses can use it without fearing getting slapped on the hand or rejected or some kind of penalty, et cetera, et cetera. And I know in the beginning, a lot of people were confusing EIDL and PPP. And
they're still doing that.
I know. And what money is for what and what to use it for what, et cetera. So we wanted to kind of clear up how to approach if you received money for EIDL, what it means, what to do. So take it away, Trevor.
Well, first and foremost, the program is still open, unlike the PPP. So if you have not yet applied for the economic injury disaster loan, or the EIDL loan, as we like to call it, you still have time till December 31st. So jump on it. It's a fixed rate loan, 3.75% interest rate for businesses, 2.75% interest rate for not-for-profit, qualified not-for-profits. 3.75% business, 2.75% fixed rate, 30 years. Wait, what? Yeah, free money. And there's no prepayment penalty. And if in the future, during the 30-year repayment period, you run into another problem with your business, some other type of issue that brings some income challenges to you, then you can call the SBA and ask for a deferment at any time during the 30 years. But the beauty of it, why we tell you take the loan now, is because even if you don't need all that money, the bottom line is we don't know where we're going with this pandemic yet. So to take the money and park the money, you can always prepay it in full if you don't use it at any time. You don't have a payment that starts until 12 months after you receive funding. So it's a really amazing program. It's been around for decades. And it's been around for decades primarily to assist business owners and qualified not-for-profits, churches and the sort, in communities that have been hit by some kind of natural disaster, tornado, flood, firestorm, whatever. And when the governor of their state declares a disaster area, then all those qualified businesses and not-for-profits can apply to the SBA. Well, with COVID, that's the disaster. And the issue about COVID, as we discussed last week, is this is a very unique disaster. It's not a tornado, which comes through town, does the damage, and it's done. COVID is ongoing, and we don't know when the quote unquote the downspout, if you will move on to the next town or fizzle out up in the sky. So there's a lot of approaches to the EIDL program, which the SBA is using a traditional approach, and a lot of business owners, before applying, during the application process, or after they get the funding, are also applying these kind of traditional concepts. And to that I say, stop. In the name of love. Oops, sorry. I'm in a really good mood today because I'm wearing my LL Bean, my favorite LL Bean sweater. It is a cool day.
Don't even get me started on that it's September, and I'm so excited because I cannot take this 97-degree heat any longer. I know it's still coming.
My Led Zeppelin t-shirt on underneath, but I've got my favorite LL Bean sweater. I was so happy yesterday when I could grab it off the shelf and toss it overhead. Anyway, so that puts me in a really good mood. Going back to the program, the feedback we've seen online and from our own clients literally is, Trevor, I'm terrified to use this money because I don't want to get in trouble with the SBA.
Yes.
To which I respond time and time again. If you are not committing fraud, if you're not doing anything illegal, and if you are using the money in a reasonable manner that helps your business to survive through and recover from the economic injury of the disaster, and that term economic injury widely defined, as long as you're using the money in a reasonable manner, how can anybody ever claim that you used it incorrectly? We do also recommend document it. Keep good records. With the PPP program, you have to keep good records if you want to request a forgiveness. With the EIDL, under the terms of the note, the SBA has the right, whether you are asking for more money in the future, and by the way, yes, under EIDL, you are permitted to come back to the SBA within 2 years of distribution and say, it wasn't enough, I need more money. At which point SBA can ask you, and will ask you probably, for receipts and other proof documentation of how you use the money. But also there's an audit aspect. Certain files are audited. Quality control procedure that all lenders implement. So if you are ever audited, you want to have your documents. But again, if you are ever in that position where an agent from the government, from the SBA, is asking you the questions about how you use the money, as long as you used the money in a reasonable manner, we don't believe, it is our opinion here at Aurora Consulting, that you are in good shape. I want to read from the note itself, from the EIDL note that our clients signed, the borrowers signed, with regards to utilization of the funds. Quote, borrower will use all the proceeds of this loan solely as working capital to alleviate economic injury caused by disaster occurring in the month of January 31st, 2020. Wait, what? And continuing thereafter, and for loans of more than $25,000 to pay the UCC lien filing fees, et cetera. So a couple of key points. Working capital, it doesn't tell you how to use the working capital. Alleviate the economic injury caused by the disaster, which I don't know, maybe I was reading the wrong newspaper, but I'm pretty sure that COVID wasn't declared a disaster until February or March, but that's okay. SBA says it occurred in the month of January of this year and continuing thereafter. So that's the definition of utilization. There's only one restriction mentioned in the note, and that is you can't relocate your business. That has nothing to do with utilization of funds. It just says if your business is at 123 Main Street, or as ours is in our beautiful building here at 62 Bridge Street, Suite 2A, office hours by appointment only, in New Milford, Connecticut. If we wanted to, and we got an EIDL loan, if we wanted to relocate our business to a different address, we would need permission from the SBA to do that, which means we'd have to contact the SBA.
Let's ask this question about contacting the SBA, because that's a lot of what we hear people trying to do to alleviate fear or get questions answered and have some clarity. They're contacting the SBA directly. There's a ton of YouTube videos showing people on their phone, on speaker, calling the SBA. Talk to us a little bit about the specifics and that tactic and why you're shaking your head no, which means to not do it. Okay, go on.
Emphatically. Also, it feels good because like my long hair has kind of got a fan approach.
You have not gotten a haircut. I don't think you've gotten a haircut in 2020.
February.
Yeah.
February.
Oh, February,
okay.
Right.
I did government mortgage loans for 30 years. Federal Housing Administration, FHA loans, Veterans Administration, VA loans. I started in the mortgage business at a time when to get an FHA government loan approved and a VA government loan, government guaranteed loan for the VA and government insured loan for the FHA, to get those loans approved, at the banks, we did not approve those loans back in those days. The file was compiled at our office with documentation to support income, assets, and credit and an appraisal, and then shipped off to an FHA regional office or a VA, Veterans Administration regional office, where a person on government payroll in the position of underwriter would review the file and approve or deny the file. I learned very early on, if you approach an underwriter, whether it's a government underwriter or an underwriter in banks where I worked, with a very specific question, hey, I have this client with this credit situation and he's getting money for the down payment from this source, or his sister's going to co-sign, but she's not really going to live in the house, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Or she's going to live in the house, but not for another 6 months. So whatever crazy scenario loan officers like me could come up with to try to help people achieve their dream of homeownership. I learned early days, when you ask a very specific question of an underwriter, but especially of a government underwriter, you are not going to get the answer that you're expecting. The answer you're going to get is mostly going to be on the negative side, or very often is going to be kind of a vague, ambiguous, well, the guideline, what do the guidelines say? The guidelines, and it's all this. It's
all magical. And
so I learned early days, first of all, read the underwriting guidelines, which is how I made my career early days. I read the guidelines and I learned how to apply the specifics of any given situation. The same is true with SBA loans today, with applying for and how you use the monies. Every business has a different, unique personality. And, we have one client who's a graphic designer, and his number one client, which is a large corporate client, has been a client of his for more than 2 decades. they dramatically reduced the amount of work they gave him. So he got a substantial amount of money from EIDL, which he actually used. Well, I won't say how he used it, but not because he didn't use it correctly, just because I don't want to reveal anything of confidential nature. But he created some ideas about finding new business. So he wanted to apply some of the money to marketing costs. And I said to him, are you buying a Lamborghini or a Ferrari? He said, no. I said, so you're using the money to help find clients to replace the income that you lost. Yes, that's what I'm using. Yeah. So you're going to use EIDL money to market and replace lost income. That's what I'm going to do, he said. I said, I don't know, it sounds perfectly reasonable to me. Why would you be afraid? Well, I'm afraid because I saw this YouTube video where somebody called the SBA. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to. So again.
Well, this I'm going to interrupt you because Nina just posted a comment from LinkedIn, and it lined up perfectly where you were going with the story of our graphic designer, which is, can I pay myself for lost income? Is that taxable? Thanks. So. Okay, well,
I can answer the first question, Nina, which is yes, you can pay yourself for lost income because that's your injury. Your injury, as defined under the guidelines, is, lost income, right? If you owned a store, selling fancy pink hats at the beachside, and your store was closed because of a tsunami or whatever, and you rebuilt and you lost income from selling the pink hats on the beach, you can use the money for that. Same thing. You can use the money to replace your lost income. Now, as far as taxable, we do not comment on tax issues or employment-related issues. We would recommend you speak with your CPA. Mm-hmm. And if you don't have a phenomenal CPA, we can refer you to a couple of great people.
Yes. That was a great question. And I'm glad it chimed in exactly when you were talking about our friend, because that was his predicament, his dilemma, his conundrum on his own self-imposed anxiety of, I have this money, what to do with it? And he wanted to use it for a perfectly acceptable reason. So Nina, thank you for the timing of that question.
Yeah. So by the way, thank you, Nina. And Nina's question, Linda, is the reason why we came up with this concept for today's WTF video, because not only have we heard this from our own clients of, I'm terrified to use the money, I don't want to get in trouble. But in many, many webinars I have attended, U.S. Chamber of Commerce, Inc.com, Bright Talks, our good friend Ilana Preuss, I have seen people asking these same questions that Nina just asked. I'll be in the webinar, and off on the side of the screen over here, I'll see people like questions, because I'm attending webinars that have hundreds of people attending, and I just see these questions flying up the screen, and I can feel the palpable terror and anxiety and worry in people's minds based on their questions, because it's a federal program, which there's a codicil when you apply for it, and also in the paperwork it says, all errors, whether intentional or not, can be penalized civilly and or criminally. Yeah, that's some scary stuff.
Yeah. So also now Marvin has a question. Can I use the money to invest to improve income loss? That sounds like somewhat of the same question.
No. I don't know what that means by invest, Marvin, but to me.
And to improve income loss. So, it sounds like he wants to. It sounds like he wants to invest to build on income that he lost. So I think Marvin, if you're still with us, it'd be great to.
We'd like to know specifically what you mean by the word invest.
Or please, Marvin, contact us at. Let me get the banner.
While Linda does that, can I address Marvin's question, Linda? So, yeah. Marvin, if the word invest means, like our graphic designer client, he invested the money in a portion of the money in a marketing campaign to find clients to replace the income he had lost from his number one corporate client. In that, using the word invest in that term, if you are saying, I want to invest in a rental property that produces income while to help give me income supplemental to my graphic design business or my store, my beachfront pink hat store, a piece of rental property or buying stocks and bonds or commodities no, that is not acceptable, because you have to think of it in terms of, quote, compensate your business for the economic injury you sustained during a disaster. So and it has to be within reasonable terms of the word, reasonable use of the word working capital. If you walked into a bank today to get working capital, either in a portfolio loan from a lender or an SBA loan, and you said to the bank, I need $100,000 working capital for my business because I'm buying a mobile dining room to supplement, to build my restaurant business, okay? Or I'm buying a truckload of woolen insulation from my retail home improvement business because I can't keep the stuff on the shelves. Then you're saying to the bank, or in this case, the SBA, that's working capital. But if you're saying to the bank, I need working capital for my business, and then you take the money and you buy stocks and bonds or a rental property with it, that's not really working capital. Do you see what I mean about applying the word reasonable to using the monies? But again, as Linda said, Marvin, if you could give us more specifics on what you mean by invest, we'd like to hear about that.
I think I disconnected us for a minute, and now I can't even see the comments that were here before I pressed the button and I exited from StreamYard, even though I started it. So I don't know if we lost some of the connection for 10 seconds or whatever. But Marvin said thank you. And hopefully maybe we didn't get disconnected and I just got disconnected and disconnected myself. So anyway, I just want to say thank you for the questions. And I just goes to prove that LinkedIn Live, I cannot thank LinkedIn Live again enough to finally have approved. We had a lot more people on this week with great questions. If you're watching the replay, I thank you for finding this if you made it this far. And thanks to everyone who joined us today. And we will see you next Wednesday at 11:35 a.m. on WTF Wednesday. Everyone have a great week. Have a safe week. Have a healthy week. We'll see you next week.